New day, new outfit, new topic. We're going to talk about literature. Why do you need literature? Well, by referring to literature, by quoting from literature, showing that you have read literature, you show your reader or your client, if you have one, that you are immersed, that you have really thought about, you have read, you are up to date on what is known about the field that your thesis or your paper is about. So you have read all the important sources. What does this literature have to be about? Well, where I'm working now in Holland Creative Business, we call them dimensions. Where I used to work before, Fontys Academy for Creative Industries, we call them core concepts. So what we mean by that is the terms, the academic terms that we talked about in the previous videos, that are central to your investigation, your research. So those key academic terms, those words that you use, representation, I talked about, anything you can come up with really, that is a term that is in your textbooks. We'll get back to those textbooks later. That's what you're finding literature about. So those textbooks, well, they're usually a good source to find information about the academic terms you're using. And if it's not literally in there, if it's not directly in there, it might refer to other sources. If you want to find new literature, go check the end of your textbooks. There are usually a list of references, much like you will have to include a list of references in your paper at the end or your thesis. And you can find good sources there because your textbook authors probably base themselves on those big name sources if they're not the big name sources themselves, right? So feel free to look back across your studies, even from the first year. Take those textbooks, look at those articles you've had to read until now in your studies, and you will find that those textbooks and those articles probably are very good sources in their own right. And if that's not enough, look at those bibliographies, right? Look at those literature lists at the end. Another way to find useful sources is to Google them, so particularly Google Scholar, so scholar.google.com. You find this whole library, which you usually have access to because you are at school or at your academy, at your university. So make sure that you're using their VPN connection, I believe it's called. I'm not an internet miracle, but usually Google Scholar only allows you access because it knows, you are accessing us from a university or University of Applied Science, a place of higher education. So if you're looking for them from home, you may have less luck in terms of actually obtaining those articles. The sources may be blocked, which is kind of annoying because science perhaps should be open access, but that's a whole nother discussion. One more super secret top tip of where to find good literature: ask your teachers. We know our stuff, we don't know everything, but if you ask me about media, if you ask me about storytelling, that sort of stuff, about film, which is a medium, I'll probably be able to tell you maybe you should look at Bordwell and Thompson. So your teachers will know where to go. Find your teachers, ask your teachers. Depending on the area that you are researching and the type of studies that you're doing, it may be permissible that you go outside of the academic sources and the professional sources, the written down ones, the professional literature. In some cases, you may be able to use something like TED Talks or maybe podcasts about the topic. In the theme park industry, for example, there are fantastic podcasts available that really give you a bunch of information that is maybe not always in academic books yet. So, be creative, but always check with your teachers, your instructors, to see if they're okay with the sources you plan to use. The next step would be to gather data that is not in literature, so your own field research. Exciting. See you in the next video.